All right, and we back on the forecast. So, really, at the end of the day, it's simple. It's whether we want shit to change, whether we want to control our own destinies or not. We have to understand that these people in the white dominant society, they are not stupid, but again, they're not necessarily smart either.
If there's a black entertainment network, shouldn't there be a white entertainment network?
Do you say sorta racist stuff but stop short of saying the N-word? Enjoy the refreshing taste of diet racism. The same sweet ignorance of regular racism, but with none of the guilt or self-awareness.
You know I'm not racist, but I would never date an Asian guy. Ugh.
Diet racism. Because you're afraid of blacks and Latinos, but you'd never say that out loud. It's the perfect beverage for people who don't directly contribute to oppression, but have strong opinions about how other cultures should handle it.
Stopping for shouldn't be a problem if you got nothing to hide.
For that busy, on-the-go professional who doesn't have the strength to admit he's been given at least a slight advantage by being born white.
The Irish were persecuted too, you know.
For the stay-at-home mom who hates affirmative action because she doesn't remember that black kids had to be escorted to school by the army.
My kids would have a way easier time getting into college if they were minorities.
Diet racism, because you just don't get it. The official beverage of the Washington Redskins.
They got into the position they are in off of sheer brutality. They set out to create slaves, and in 2017, it's still working. They put those images in your head through sheer brutality. They show them to you over and over and over until it sticks in your head. They tell you the same thing for hundreds of years until you say, well, it must be right. You've been saying it for hundreds of years. But at the end of the day, what they say and do should be of no importance to us at all. And I'm not saying to not study your opponents, because you should learn everything about your enemy that you can. But we have allowed ourselves to be miseducated so much to the point that we call ourselves minority. We are not the minority in this world. It's the art of war. When you're outnumbered, you divide your enemy into two. Divide and conquer. It's a simple technique, but it's very effective. And we allow ourselves to be divided about all kind of stupid stuff, irrelevant stuff. We are all divided on the surface level, but beneath all of that, we are in the same position. We all have the same core agreement, especially as black people, that we ain't trying to go back to the 1800s. Even those of us who was called house niggas, they ain't trying to go back to be a house slave. But we still divided along those colorism lines, light skin versus dark skin. And we know we had that light skin versus dark skin complex, but we don't understand where it comes from. Back then, when these white slave masters were raping these black slave women and impregnating them, the baby would come out mixed. And some of these slave owners treated them like the rest of the black slaves, and some of the slave owners treated them like they were their son.
Carruthers was actually the wealthiest African American in the 19th century. So from that alone, you could tell that he did very well for himself.
Quite well, almost an understatement for a man born into slavery, but even that wasn't the most intriguing part of John Carruthers Stanley's heritage. History tells us that his father was the man that lived in this house just across the street from the Tryon Palace. Carruthers was a recognized son of the wealthy and powerful John Wright Stanley and a slave of the Igbo tribe. That kind of recognition was quite uncommon in the 1800s.
No, it really wasn't common, but I guess he was proud of his son, and they petitioned for his freedom.
Despite that freedom and wealth that allowed Carruthers to purchase these properties and buy much of his family out of slavery, it was the matter of who Carruthers' parents were that placed him in a precarious situation. Like that of many in the emerging biracial South, their physical features betraying them as only black, their bloodline denying them full benefits of a white person. That was the case with Carruthers and his white half-brother, John Stanley Jr.
John Carruthers Stanley and his brother were able to attend that church with, of course, Carruthers sitting in the back of the church with his family and the other brother Stanley sitting in the front with his family.
Despite the challenges, Carruthers navigated the rough waters of discrimination to make the best of an imperfect situation in a time where choices didn't always present themselves as black or white.
He was apprenticed as a barber, which was common in that time for slaves, and he was the largest African-American slave owner in his time.
And then you would have these mixed kids who would inherit slaves and be as bad or sometimes even worse than the full-blooded white slave owner in the first place. And of course, today they would say, well, other black people own slaves too. And you hear, or black people sold other black people into slavery, and try to put a divide in between us and the people in Africa. But that's another tactic from the art of war. When the enemy is weak, then you attack. And after 1,000 years of the Arab slave trade, of course Africa is in a weakened state from being in so many wars. So it was easy for the Europeans to go into a village, kill everybody, then go to the next village and say, well, if you don't come with us or go get another tribe, then we will do you like we did those last villages, or just enslave you. But now today they say, well, the Africans sold you out. Well, what I don't understand is if Arabs sold slaves and they got wealthy, if Europeans sold slaves, they got wealthy, Americans sold slaves, they got wealthy, the Africans sold their own people and they lost all of their wealth? Why in the hell would they do that? But when I think about all of this talk about Africans hating us and us hating Africans, it really comes from the white narrative. It really comes from the narrative of white society. And we have to start controlling our own narratives, at least with ourselves. It doesn't matter what they think or feel. It only matters the narrative that we give ourselves. Because when we go by their narratives, it only leads to more divides, like divide between black men and black women. Now, black men and black women have to be on the same page. We can't do it without our women, and our women cannot do it without us. We have got to work together. But every time we begin to get on the same page, another narrative comes out. During slavery, families were ripped apart. They would take a baby from its mother. They would come into the home and take a man's wife away just to be raped, and he couldn't do anything about it. But even then, the black families did not break up. They would do anything in their power to be a family. Some people would buy their freedom and then go buy their wife or their children's freedom, which would account for more of those black slave owners that they love to talk about. And then after slavery, we had the most two-parent homes. And then they came in and destroyed all of our cities, destroyed our economy, and then they were in charge of whether we were going to work or not. And so they said, well, you know what? We'll tell you what. We'll give the women and the children a place to stay. We'll give them food, and we'll give them health care. As long as the husband and the man is out of the house. And that effectively destroyed the black community. Because back then, black men couldn't get jobs in the 1960s, 1950s, 1940s. After the businesses and everything that they had were destroyed. And then they complain about doing that and say, well, you know, you got your welfare and all of this and that. Be grateful. They use it as a sign of you being inferior, as if that wasn't the plan in the first place. And let's be clear, it's not just a problem in the black community, because they love to talk about the black single mothers, the problem with the black single mothers. People better start paying attention, because that's an American problem. The American marriage system, the way it's set up, does not work, especially for men, period. The way the divorce laws are set up is designed to break up families. And with so much miseducation, people growing up in houses without two parents that love each other and show you how it's done. People are growing up confused. Today, most people are masochists. They enjoy being hurt because that's all they knew through their whole life. Women don't know how to pick a man because she didn't see a father who treated her mother the way she was supposed to be treated. Men don't know how to pick a woman because he don't see a mother who treated a father how she's supposed to be treated. And it's important for us in the black community, if we want to change things, that's the first place that change happens, in the home with the children. They shape the next generation's mind. Our parents are the first teachers. We should be instilling into our children's heads how to be financially stable, financially independent, financially wealthy. We need to teach them how to make their money work for them, how to manage their money, to teach them to get into science, to teach them to go to school for medicine, to go to school to be a lawyer. And if we continue this divide between black men and black women, that leaves our children vulnerable for another generation to come up being taught by European principles and to make things even worse. That's why it's important for us to put aside our petty differences and to change things right now, because we don't have any time to waste. People is dying every single day. If not from police, if not from poverty, if not from each other, then just from lack of education, from a poor diet, or you're working every day until you're 70 to make some white man filthy rich while you struggling every day check to check. It's time to change all of that. We don't have time to waste.
You watch Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is my shit.
Man, that's what I love about you. It's like you're a black dude, but you don't act black.
What?
What I mean is, like, you don't act all like thugged out.
So all black people are thugged out?
Man, oops, I was raised as black guy, come here.
How can I help you?
I was trying to bond with my black coworker, but things got racist real fast.
Hey man, he's all right. He's a really good guy. What he meant to say is that he finds it extremely refreshing that you managed to somehow defy racial stereotypes, remain your own person, rooted but not bound to the black experience, which is culturally astonishing for him because he comes from Milwaukee and his father's a redneck.
He said all that.
He's cool, man. He ain't got a mom auntie house all the time, man. Eat places of food.
Love her. It's good food.
He's a good guy.
Okay, if you say so.
Thank God for racism insurance.
There when you need it most. Racism insurance.
You are so hot. And I'm not into black girls, like, at all. But there's something about you.
Wait, excuse me?
Is that your real hair?
What?
Do you have Indian in your family?
You know what?
Oops, I was raised as black guy, come here.
Really, Keith? That's what you led with. You know what? No, my friend here, he got a little hung up with your beauty.
Wait, y'all are friends?
Me and Keith? Yeah. Oh yeah, we go way back. Yeah, we was at my crib actually watching BET, having a conversation about how the black woman has an unparalleled beauty. It's second to none.
Black girls rock so hard.
That was really sweet.
You owe me, Ryan Gosling. You owe me.
Racism insurance. For those times that you just kind of weren't thinking.
This isn't even my shoes, man. You know, you can't trust these hoes.
Can't trust these hoes.
You can't trust hoes.
Whoa, man, you can't say that.
Why not?
Because we're talking about black hoes. Now, we can call black women hoes, but you can't.
I just thought I couldn't say nigga.
The hell is wrong with you, man? You cannot use the N-word. It's not covered in your policy, man. Oh yeah, you on your own now. They mad. You fucked up.
Please don't jump me, please.
We not gonna jump you. What do you think this is? We're in Westwood, man.
Yeah, bro. We're just gonna intellectually denigrate and scold you for the abuse of your white privilege.
What's white privilege?
Racism insurance. For everything but the N-word.
Really?
This is a moment that people are talking about tonight when wide receiver Andrew Hawkins walked out of the tunnel onto the field wearing a statement shirt calling for justice for Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old boy shot and killed in a confrontation with Cleveland police. News Channel 5's Nick Foley is live at First Energy Stadium tonight. And Nick, the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association, what are they calling for tonight?
Well, Tracy, it's safe to say they are not happy about it at all. That shirt worn by Hawkins called for justice for Rice, as you mentioned, and also for John Crawford, a man who was shot and killed by Dayton police in a Walmart back in August holding a replica gun. Now, that shirt, of course, is Hawkins' opinion, but his gesture now has the CPPA calling on the Browns for what they believe is some needed damage control. A silent statement made by Andrew Hawkins, and one that some Browns fans that were in the stadium for the game say Hawkins had every right to make.
It's freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and what he did is what was in his heart.
Everybody has a right to express their opinion, especially about something that might ring home to them, you know, urban type issues, and it's important to know these things and what's going on today in today's society.
But the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association does not see it the same way. I talked to Union President Jeff Fulmer by phone, who gave this statement to News Channel 5, saying, quote, "It's pretty pathetic when athletes think they know the law. They should stick to what they know best on the field. The Cleveland Police protect and serve the Browns Stadium, and the Browns organization owes us an apology." End of quote. Earlier this week in Brooklyn, LeBron James wore an I Can't Breathe shirt in support of Eric Garner, who died in New York while being arrested by police. Another example of an athlete using a national forum to express a personal opinion. But fans say, just like the NBA, or in this case the NFL, can choose to punish the athletes for taking a stand, the players can decide it's worth the consequences.
They can still say something, but he still have the freedom to do it. I'm quite sure he make enough money to write that check or whatever not, but sometimes things is bigger than work and bigger than money, and that's one of them.
Now, I reached out to the Browns organization for their take on the matter. I heard back from the team just a short time ago. We want to read you now the statement released to me. "We have great respect for the Cleveland Police Department and the work they do to protect and serve our city. We also respect our players' rights to project their support and bring awareness to issues that are important to them, if done so in a responsible manner." Now, I also talked to a Browns spokesman, and I asked him if Hawkins would face any sort of punishment or fine for his gesture and wearing that shirt today at the game. Simple reply was no.
We're going to turn our attention now to one of the biggest stories around the country today, and that is the NFL's response to recent comments from President Trump that he made on Twitter. He essentially called for players who refuse to stand for the national anthem to be fired or suspended. What was the reaction from the NASCAR community today on this issue, Nate?
Well, I should probably preface this, Carolyn, by saying that, per our coverage and from reporters on the scene, it didn't appear as if there were any protests that happened before the race today among team members. There were a few team owners that were asked about the protests before the race. Richard Childress told reporters that anyone who worked for him who took a knee would need to get a bus ticket if they wanted to get home, implying that they would be fired. He said it was about respecting the country. Richard Petty told USA Today Sports that anybody who didn't stand up for the flag should leave the country. And Joe Gibbs, who of course is a former NFL coach, he was asked about it before and after the race. He said that he didn't discuss the issue with his team. After the race, he said that so much has been sacrificed for our country and our flag. It's a big deal for us to honor America. That's the way we looked at it. He said that he couldn't speak for all members of his race team, Carolyn, but he felt that everybody, a consensus opinion, shared his thoughts.
All right.
The NRA has released a new ad tackling the anthem protests. Watch this.
Every time I see our flag wave, I feel a humbling reminder of the brave who keep and have kept us free. I stand to honor the sacrifices of the generations before me. Heroes who charged into battle through bombs and bullets, who lost their brothers and still pushed through, fighting for every inch of our freedom. I stand for my brothers who can't stand anymore. Men who hunted terrorists to the ends of the earth, who sacrificed their bodies and their lives so that we could peacefully live ours. I stand for the children, the spouses, and parents whose family made the ultimate sacrifice for us. We are all standing.
All right, that man in the ad is a former U.S. Navy SEAL. He joins us now. Welcome, everyone. This is Dom Arasso. Dom, welcome to the program. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you. Nice for having me on.
The ad does not mention the NFL, but that's exactly where it's aimed. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to be talking about honor first. So it's about putting America first. It could be any organization, and I think we're going to see the same things. We're bringing up an issue where people are pissed off.
People are pissed off about the reaction and the actions that people are taking, and we have to remember the foundation that this has all been built on.
I think the NFL is the big loser here. I want to break you away from the NRA for a minute and just look at this situation here. Seems to me it's the NFL which is the loser. They're not enforcing the rules that are in their own rule book, and they seem to be just in chaos about this whole issue. What do you say?
Well, like I said, Americans are upset. You know, it doesn't matter what issue you're talking about. It's the foundation of everything that we've built here. I know I'm pretty damn proud of where we've come as a country, and we all need to take a look around and look at the freedom that we've got. You know, I'm disappointed. There is nobody that I know more than me that wants to see us united, have great leadership, and then honor all of those who have gone before us. And at the end of the day, I am disappointed in leadership and some of the decisions that were made, but it's a learning point. It's a learning lesson, and that's why America has been so great. Because you know what we'll do with this? We'll take this and we'll continue to figure out ways to bring us all back together with putting honor first.
But at this moment, I think you're quite right. Most Americans are really angry at what they see going on their screens, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football. I think you've expressed the mood of America very accurately. I think people are, as you say, thoroughly angry. Last word to you.
There's no doubt about it. Everybody's looking at this right now, and everybody's paying attention. And we have to have good leadership. Everything I said in my video, the brothers that I've lost, the families that have sacrificed so much, it's timing. I'm not saying there's not important issues we need to talk about, but it's the timing that you pick to bring it up. Don't bring it up when we're talking about putting America first, honor first, and look at the foundation that we've been built on.
Did you go to the NRA to suggest you make that ad, or did they come to you?
You know, it's always been a joint effort about putting our rights first, whether it's the Second Amendment, the First Amendment. They're all things that are extremely important to me. This specific subject, it hit home. It means a lot to me. And I know that I'm in a position in order to convey that education. When I look at the people that take the actions that they're taking, sometimes I just realize that they don't know any better. And we have to continue to bring what's important and what's valuable to this country.
Last one, Dom. The next football game on TV, NFL football game, will you watch?
We have to be aware of what's going on. And unfortunately, you can see a lot of people reacting. I see people burning jerseys, canceling their tickets. You know, I've taken small actions in my own life to mitigate some of that because of the values. But it's still a point where we can turn this into good leadership. And at the end of the day, it's going to be very difficult for me. There's no bigger Patriots fan than I know than me. And I was disappointed in the actions taken. And all that I can do is continue to hope that we find ways to look at solving things together, unite people, and put honor first.
We've got some professors in this part of the country who are today calling for communist victory. And they say that's free speech. But they mean free speech only if you let them speak. They don't want anybody else to speak. And I tell you,
Governor Wallace used to just love to use the long-haired hippie agitators, the folks who were out in the front lines of the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement.
I love you too, I sure do. Oh, I thought you were a she, you a he, oh my goodness.
The folks that he felt like his constituency just really disliked the most, you know.
And when he was in California, a group of anarchists lay down in front of his automobile and threatened his personal safety, the President of the United States. Well, I want to tell you, if you'll elect me the President and I go to California, or I come to Arkansas and some of them lie down in front of my automobile, it'll be the last one they'll ever want to lie down in front of. Say again what I said in the beginning, you fellas better have your day now because you're through later on, I tell you that much.
That would be the kind of pictures that we would want.
Well, just keep on. You get me 1 million votes every time you show up, I tell you that much.
when that would be on television, and particularly back home in the South.
Come up here after I've completed my speech and I'll autograph your sandals for you.
People would just want to just leave the cotton fields early in the afternoon and get to the television and send whatever dollars they had right into the campaign headquarters. And by doing that, we were able to finance the campaign.
Why don't you young folks get out of the auditorium? And I tell you what, I may not teach you any politics if you listen, but I'll teach you some good manners. I'll teach you some good manners, you know. I'll teach you some good manners.